is Joy News Prime.
Joy News Prime, the most comprehensive news bulletin on TV. In Ghana, coming up, Ghanaians anxiously await outcome of negotiations over Nigeria's threat to cut gas supply by midnight tonight. A family in Accra is demanding justice for a 23-year-old house help who was murdered and her body dumped in a swimming pool. Police investigate the murder of a baby whose body was discovered on Thursday near the Achimota school in Accra.
And in business with me, Abigail Adumakuenchi, rating agency Fitch insists 2016 election remains a threat to economic stability.
And we'll have Abigail coming in with the business news in about 30 minutes. But also in the bulletin, former President Kufuor endorses demands for a new voters register, insisting the Electoral Commission cannot be a power unto itself and that the Commission should listen to the voice of the people. And then, a regal wedding. That's how they're calling the colorful marriage ceremony of two TV personalities, Joy News' Nana Ansakwao and GTV's Gifty Auntie. We'll have the details on that story and a lot more coming up in the bulletin. My name is Israelite. Please stay tuned. Now, in just about 5 hours from now, Nigeria may significantly reduce the amount of natural gas they make available through the West African gas pipeline to generate electricity to power plant here in Ghana. The threat, which was issued on Wednesday by the West African Gas Pipeline Company, is to force payment of a $181 million debt accumulated from previous gas supplies which have not been paid. The power minister is currently in Nigeria to try and avert the suspension of gas supply by that country, but there is no word yet as to the outcome. The petroleum minister at a news conference on Friday was optimistic a deal will be reached.
As we know, a high-powered delegation led by the Minister of Power is currently in Nigeria, having discussions on this very important matter. And we are very hopeful that the matter is, on his return, we will get some news on how and a plan in place to resolve the matter. And I believe that we'll wait for the Honorable Minister of Power to come back from Nigeria for us to get the outcome of that visit. But I know that he's working on this issue. I think that the government has already set up a very important team led by PRC, the ministries involved, and all the sector agencies are involved, with Ghana Gas involvement, to really draw a plan on how we deal with all these issues of indebtedness. These are legacy issues that must be addressed. We must be able to address them before we get into the gas era critically, especially if you look at some of the obligations we have already committed ourselves on some of the gas that are coming. And I believe that it is part of the general effort that the government steps that we are taking to address this general issue of the energy sector indebtedness.
He also stated that in the long term, Ghana should be producing enough gas so that what comes in from Nigeria will be complementary.
The critical things that I'm very happy about is on the issue of gas and gas development. Ladies and gentlemen, arguably the gas sector is the major game changer for our economy. We are therefore systematically developing additional gas fields and ramping up volumes in existing fields. In the next decade, as you know, 80% of our source of power will come from thermal generation, with gas as the critical feedstock. This is very, very important. That in the next decade, our power generation, 80% will be thermal, and the critical feedstock to power these power plants will be gas. And so it's very critical that we focus on ramping up more volumes of gas. And we are doing exactly that. We estimate that with the various projects lined up, gas volumes from indigenous sources, from Ghanaian sources, will reach 500 million standard cubic feet of gas by 2019. And ladies and gentlemen, that is big news for us. Enough to generate over 3,000 megawatts of power. And so I think that for us, especially the story in the news about gas from Nigeria, we are looking forward to the day where gas from Nigeria will be complementary. And that gas that will mainly power our thermal plants will come from indigenous gas. And we are making steady progress, and we think that we are getting there, and we are set that by 2019, God willing, we are going to have about 500 million standard cubic feet of gas from our own shores.
But even as we await the outcome of the Abuja meeting, the country will have to be dealing with a situation where the power budgets expected from Turkey to augment the country's electricity supply could suffer another delay. This is because the financial guarantee provided by the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation is yet to be finalized. The barge is now expected to leave Turkey on October 25, with November 10 as the arrival date in Ghana. But the chief executive of the GNPC, Alex Moult, says the movement of the barge depends on the confirmation of the guarantee by the bankers of Car Power.
That GNPC is putting in place on behalf of ECG for the car power barges. The status is simply that GNPC has placed $100 million in a bank, EcoBank. EcoBank is negotiating with its correspondent bank for the confirmation of the guarantee. So the ball is in EcoBank's court. There's nothing else GNPC can do. We have given them the funds required for them to establish this guarantee. They have opened the guarantee, but it's not confirmed. My understanding from EcoBank as of this morning is that they are finalizing the terms and conditions with their corresponding bank, Standard Chartered Bank. There is a second guarantee that GNPC is putting in place to guarantee the capacity. That is in place. We are in discussions with ECG. I met with the ECG managing director and the bank this morning. My understanding is by next week, ECG and the bank would have finalized their terms and conditions, and I'm hoping that that will be issued. GNPC once again has put down funds, this time to ensure that the guarantee can take place. So with regards to GNPC's involvement in this, GNPC has put down the funds, and now the discussion is between ECG, the bank, and their corresponding bank to get it done. I believe once that is done, the ships will sail.
Now, we've been working the lines all day to try and get some updates as to how the negotiations have gone in Abuja, Nigeria, where the Power Minister is leading a high-powered government delegation to try and get some resolution to this issue. We haven't gotten any word yet. We'll continue to try and see if we can get any information from that meeting that's ongoing in Nigeria. But we've also been speaking to the West African Gas Pipeline, who are the ones who will be responsible to turn off the gas supplies. And indeed, they indicated at a news conference on Wednesday that that is what they plan to do in about 5 hours, under 5 hours from now. Aisha Ibrahim has been speaking to the West African Gas Pipeline. Is there any information from them?
Well, I just dropped the phone with Mrs. Ureko Brobe. She's the General Manager of Public Relations at WAPCO. She tells me she doesn't seem to have any update from the meeting, but what I gather from what she told me is that they are monitoring with keen interest the outcome of the meeting. She's unable to say whether or not they will still go ahead to turn off gas to Ghana, but I get a sense of what she's saying, that if indeed the meeting doesn't go well or any positive outcome, or they don't get any positive outcome from Nigeria, of course they would have to go ahead with their plan.
Okay, thank you very much, Aisha Ibrahim. So that's the very latest we're getting from the West African Gas Pipeline Company. They are saying they are the ones to turn off the taps, and until they get any confirmation or any contrary information from Nigeria Gas, it looks like the taps will be turned off, or reduced flow, gas flow from Nigeria will be reduced significantly. Now, it's important to note that it's not going to be a total shutdown of gas supply or suspension of gas supply, because we're told that it's going to be about 30 million standard cubic feet of gas, and that should be able to power the Asogli power plant. Now, other plants in the Tema enclave will suffer, but I can tell you that it's not going to be a situation where everything in this country is going to shut down, so it's important to put that information out. Meanwhile, the Petroleum Minister also hinted about changes to the petroleum pricing law, which should affect the pricing formula for the fuel sold at the pumps. He explains this is necessary for the successful implementation of the petroleum pricing deregulation policy.
The purpose of the policy is to allow for competitive pricing removal of government interventions, and elimination of forest losses faced by importers. The policy, which commenced on 1st of July 2015, is aimed at achieving a fully deregulated market for all products with the exception of residual fuel and premise fuel. In the long run, the consumer will be the beneficiary of the price deregulation and improved services that we envision. So far, the deregulation policy has been very successful in achieving these purposes, but we still have a long way to go to strengthen the MPA to ensure that this price deregulation policy is fully enforced. Some proposed amendments to sections of the MPA Act and pricing regulations, LI 2186, have been laid before Parliament and will come into effect after 21 days as the law requires.
Right, you're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still to come, that regal wedding between Nana and Sakwao and Gifty Auntie. Please stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit. Watching Joy News Prime. Now, the family and employer of a murdered woman in Dansoman are demanding action against 2 police constables for their alleged roles in her killing. The body of 23-year-old Veracity Elom Oteng was dumped in a swimming pool after her murder. All those in the house 48 hours before and after the discovery of her body have been arrested. Manasseh Azure has been following this case and joins me in the studio for more. Good evening to you, Manasseh.
Good evening, Israel.
What else do we know about this case?
Well, the most disturbing aspect from both the employer and then the family is that everyone else has been arrested except the 2 police officers who were in the house. Now, this is the security arrangement in the house. At the time of the incident, the family had traveled out of the country. And so we had the girl who is a house help, and we have another cleaner, a male cleaner. But he comes and goes. He doesn't live in the house. At every material moment, we have a private security person and also an armed police officer. So what happens is that some come in the evening and leave the following morning. So they stay throughout the night, and some come in the morning. But on this particular day, when the body was found out on the 21st of August, what happened, according to my sources, is that normally the police officer at night would wait for the one in the day, or the one who comes in the morning to hand over to him. But on this day, he left before the arrival of the day police officer. And they claimed they saw this girl at about 7, 8 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock, they expected her to come and go out and go to the shop to help, but they didn't find her. So that's why they had to go and do the search and found the body floating. And what happened later on, after this account, one of the private security guy actually fell sick in the police custody. And when he was treated, he said he had something more to say. And his confession or additional statement which the police took was that they did not actually see the girl that morning, but it was the police officer who said they should say they saw the girl in the morning, later found her in the pool, and that dead people don't talk. So as we speak, the 2 police officers have not been picked up, but all others, including the cleaner who was not in Accra when the incident happened.
Now, one thing that's curious to me is here's this house that has private security and 2 police officers. It must be a very important person's house.
Yes, it is owned by a businessman, Ato Essien, and apart from the security, the wall is so high, and it has fence wires, electric wires, and everything points to the fact that the police even said there was no one who entered that house within that period. So everything points to the fact that if anybody harmed the girl, it was someone in the house.
So how many people are under investigation right now?
There should be 5 and perhaps 6, because we have the security, 2 private security persons, we have the cleaner, we have 2 police officers. The 2 police officers have not been arrested. And there's one man called Taylor. When the girl's uncle was calling and nobody picked, he said one person picked and introduced himself as Taylor. and my investigation has revealed that it was that tailor who got that girl the job in that house. So these persons should be investigated, but the family is so worried that these police officers who are so much near the crime, who are so much connected, have not been picked up, and all attempts to get them arrested have not yielded any results. I actually spoke to the homicide units of the CID, and they said they were supposed to have reported on Tuesday, but because of communication lapses, they couldn't get them, and they are hoping that by the end of this week or by the close of this week, the 2 police officers should be arrested.
So you're looking at it, we're looking at a situation where a number of people are under investigation, but how many people are in custody as we speak?
We have 3 in custody, and that's the houseboy, the 2 West Tech security persons.
All right, thank you very much, Manasseh Azure, for bringing us up to speed with this very disturbing news about the murder of a 23-year-old house help somewhere in Dansum. And elsewhere, students and authorities at the Achimota School are living in fear after the decapitated body of a baby was found on a refuse dump in a fast-growing slum in the neighborhood. Latif Idris visited the scene and has more.
I am back here at the Achimota School, and yet again, not for a pleasant story. I was here about 3 weeks ago. I reported about the emerging slum and the dangers the dwellers pose to the school. I am here again because just on Sunday, the dwellers of this slum found a decapitated body of a 2-month-old dumped right here. Now, that is raising some fear and panic among the residents of the slum and the school authorities, who say they suspect ritual killing.
We found the baby, the head was not up, the head was not in. So we thought somebody used the head to do spiritual thing and come and dump the baby here.
Through me too, I see that people have been doing that wrong thing and come and dump it here. Then they give problem to the people who've been around here. So better the school was talking to sack people so that they will check over and set everything will be possible correctly.
The discovery sparked panic among residents even after the police took the body away. The Achimota School District Police say the body has been deposited at the police hospital morgue while investigations continue. Superintendent Fermin Azitariga say residents believe the baby is just a few months old.
We had a report from Charles Jamna that in the anomaly community, just the bush way leading to the Achimota School direction, a baby was found on the rubbish dump. Well, I had to accompany my investigators to the scene to see what actually happened. When we got there, the body was exposed. It was not covered, and it was just about some 10 meters away from the bush road that the vehicles use in the anomaly community, and actually on a rubbish dump. It didn't have a head, and decomposition had actually commenced.
Assistant Headmaster of Achimota Senior High School, Ebenezer Akwa, expressed worries about residents in a nearby slum.
What we can do is just to prevent our students from straying into those areas. But any concrete decision should be taken by our bosses and not the school.
So about the slum dwellers, you cannot do anything about it?
What we can do is to report to our bosses, that is the Ministry of Education and Ghana Education Service. Whatever decision they take, yes, we go along with them.
The slum keeps growing by the day, posing serious threats to both students and school authorities, who want the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service to step in to get rid of the squatters. Latif Idris, Joy News, Achimota.
Now, some other sad news. A 12-year-old boy on Wednesday drowned in a stream near Kumasi High School, Jinyase, in the Ashanti regional capital. It took police and fire service personnel about 2 hours to retrieve the body of the yet-to-be-identified boy, as some rituals were performed by some traditional authorities. Let's get more on this from correspondent John Tay, who joins me now over the phone lines. Good evening to you, John Tay. What really happened in this instance?
Yeah, good evening, Ezra. Like you mentioned, the victim is believed to have gone swimming with other colleagues after school when disaster struck at about 3 p.m. yesterday at Jinyase. There is this stream there by name Wiri, and so it is a place where children frequent a lot after school hours to swim, even after repeated warnings from residents in the area. So it just so happened that one of them got drowned yesterday, and indeed security personnel were at the scene. At the time that I arrived there were fire service personnel and policemen there, but they wouldn't speak on the issue for now. But eyewitness accounts suggest that they were handicapped because there was no expert diver available for any rescue attempt. Indeed, it took the effort of residents in the area to dive deep into the deep end of the stream to retrieve the body of the boy, but he had already been long gone. He was dead long before they could get him out of the river. And residents in the area again tell me that they least expected the tragic incident, even though there have been several warnings from them to these children who frequent the place a lot. It's almost like a beach resort for these kids. After school hours, you would find them there swimming in the river without the knowledge of their parents. So speaking to the assemblyman too, who is in the person of Nanaya Redu, he told me the next line of action for him would be to install signposts or warning signs there to desist these kids from getting close to the stream, or even caution parents and guardians of these kids to warn their children to stay away from the stream. But I must say that there is this
let's move on.
thing.
I think he's...
Yes. One interesting thing that happened there yesterday was the fact that it took them several hours to retrieve or find the body of the boy, because every time the stream, he would slip back into the river. So the assemblyman, who is also a royal in the Jinyase area, sensed that perhaps they needed to perform some rituals, and they did that, and they could readily get a boy out of the river.
All right, thank you very much, John Tay, bringing us those grim details of the incident of the loss of that 12-year-old boy and the drowning of the boy. In other news, former President John Kufuor is the latest to back calls for the compilation of a new voters register. Speaking with leaders of the Let My Vote Count campaign group, Mr. Kufuor said the Electoral Commission should heed the voice of Ghanaians. President Kufuor said a credible voters register is imperative for the conduct of peaceful elections.
Sovereignty of the land really issues from the people, and this is why we vote. So the citizens use their vote, indicating their power to pick people to represent them in their fora, whether it's the legislature or even the executive. And so if a citizen, and the people demanding needn't even be majority of the people, but if truly some section of the people or most of the people or whatever should feel that they need to be sure of the quality of the vote, deciding who should govern, those people should be entitled. And the Electoral Commission is accountable. It's accountable to the people generally. The Electoral Commission is a power, not a power unto itself. I think this should be made clear. Yes, the Constitution provides for its independence, but that same Constitution has as its cornerstone accountability and transparency. Accountability to the source of power, and that source is the people, the citizenry. Electoral Commission is accountable, and our Electoral Commission must be transparent. The cost of having a faulty election cannot be imagined. I've had opportunity, as I was reminded, to see what transpired in Kenya. Within the short space of about a month, over 1,500 people got slaughtered. We are not counting the other properties destroyed. I was in Cote d'Ivoire. I led some observer teams to observe the election, the last one. And in fact, the coming election, again, I'm leading a group to observe in that country. I led a team to observe the last Nigerian election, and the one before that too, I led the team to observe. So I've seen what faulty elections can do to otherwise peaceful people. Ghana has escaped so far some of the devastations that overtook those lands. We pray they don't happen here in Ghana. And so I'm with you entirely, completely, that the Electoral Commission should not plead excuses like cleaning the register. And we've come to the point, and it's a new electoral commission, or chair of commission. I hope she will start her tenure with a very clean slate.
On Wednesday, former First Lady Nana Konadu Rawlings, also meeting with the Let My Vote Count Alliance, demanded a new voters register. Her husband, however, was not so emphatic, insisting that if a voters register is what is necessary for the conduct of credible and peaceful elections, then the Electoral Commission should not ignore the demand for a new electoral roll. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. When we come back, we bring you business news.
Whenever you use the toilet and do not wash your hands with soap, your hands pick up things you can't see. Washing your hands with just water can't make them truly clean. Remember to wash your hands with soap.
For truly clean hands, always wash with soap.
Business News is brought to you by
Having black mosquito coil and having lemon perfume mosquito spray. Apropos.
Meaning having black jumbo mosquito coil. Me a smokeless coil. Trase, Mimpusi, Mimbu, na me show them why. Me show na jumuni nina. It's a mrawa dan. Na me yen to wejuma. Ne ram so dear. Multi-flower scent papeli.
Me, your friend me having insecticide spray. Me a macho.
So be a heaven class insecticide spray.
Let me see. Your more D, a sign triple formula we ye munu. Ye to me come to any more womutu any woman num from one time, bah, let me say, ye enjoy it area any pepun biao.
Namaste, Obayan lemon fragrance na. Yama would demo her sweet aroma.
All right, it's now time for business news, and Abigail Adumakwenchi is here. Good evening to you, Abigail.
Good evening,
All right, apparently you have an update on this
whole power
issue and the negotiations ongoing in Nigeria. Do you have an update for us?
Yes, I do. Very interesting one, and I'm sure Ghanaians would be happy to hear what the power ministry
is it the case? Is it the case that
don't dig in Israel? Let me give them the update. Let's not take it here.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, but I'll start with Fitch, and rating agency Fitch maintains that the 2016 elections still remains the biggest threat to the projected economic stability. The country's development partners, World Bank and the IMF, have all said that growth will pick up next year. But in the agency's report on the recent Eurobond issued, Fitch is still worried about some overruns occurring next year. Chantal Asante has more.
Concern by Fitch shows that a lot of the foreign institutions are still not convinced by assurances from government that it will not overspend during next year's elections. According to Fitch, this high degree of uncertainty ahead of parliamentary and presidential elections, which may see spending pressures re-emerge and fiscal consolidation go off track. Reports like these have influenced decisions of some investors, who have had to hold on to their capital for some projects in the country, as well as the Ghana Stock Exchange, while some new projects have even been put on hold. On the recent Eurobond issued, Fitch was of the view that the almost 11% being paid was the highest when it comes to countries in Africa rated by the agency. It also adds that an improved credit rating for Ghana will influence its verdict on the ratings for the recent Eurobond.
The Power Ministry is assuring the public that the country will not be thrown into darkness if gas supplies from Nigeria to VRA is cut. The company that manages pipelines for receiving gas from Nigeria, WAPCO, says it will cut supplies if government doesn't pay $180 million debt by midnight. But the Power Ministry says there are alternative plans in place to ensure power supply to consumers are not disrupted. Kweku Sessa Johnson speaks for the ministry.
The development now makes GNPC the sole shareholder of Ghana Gas with full control over the entity. Government announced plans to integrate the two entities in the 2015 budget as part of measures to consolidate the petroleum sector. This was to reduce cost and transaction time and improve value, efficiency and sustainability of outcomes for the Ghanaian public. PricewaterhouseCoopers was last week appointed as a transaction advisor to assist with the successful integration.
We'll bring you the power story later on, but Ghana is making progress in developing tourist sites, but little can be said of how private businesses, especially those in the hospitality industry, are taking advantage of the sector. While Ghana grapples with this situation, it appears it can take leave from the Book of Kenya, which has a flourishing private sector-led tourism sector despite threats by terrorists. Wildlife conservation is a big part of Kenya's tourism. At approximately 5 kilometers from the center of Nairobi is a giraffe center located at Karen. It was privately established to protect the endangered Rothschild giraffe. The Giraffe Center attracts 166,000 local and international tourists. Tourists who troop in here pay at least $10 to see the giraffes and feed them. Behind me are Rothschild giraffes, and they are quite endangered species around here. And I'm going to try to feed them. It's quite fun doing that, and all the tourists who come around here try to do it. So I'm going to try to do that. I have some pellets in my hands. I made grass and molasses and cereals, I'm told. So I would quickly get the attention of a giraffe and try to feed it. Yeah, that giraffe should do for me. Quite interesting to feed the giraffe right here in Nairobi, Kenya. Having fun, really, trust me, and there are more animals to see in this part of Africa. The revenues mobilized from this center support other conservation projects in Kenya. Another famous wildlife reserve in Kenya is the Masai Mara National Reserve. It's the largest living mammal, and this here on the Masai Game Reserve. A very big land, actually, about 1,500 acres of land, and it's amazing. It's amazing the kind of animals you see here. Lots of tourists from around the world come in to observe the many animals here. The game reserve is globally famous for its exceptional population of Maasai lions. But around the park is the Sarova Mara Game Camp, one of the Sarova range of hotels, a private investment, which employs about 1,500 Kenyans. The hotel has a chain of 10 situated on the park. Partnering the Narok County authorities who manage the game park and Kenya Airways helps the hotels to facilitate travels from across the world to the site. For patrons, the proximity of the hotel to the tourist sites makes the experience refreshing.
We saw a lion, and what was even more special was that it was mating season. It's mating season, and we saw the lions mating. Then we saw the cheetah with a little cub. So that really kind of made our day.
We're very happy that we have we're going through this experience. And I'm definitely going to be back and love it.
The game camp is just one of the facilities in the Sarova chain of hotels built around tourist sites in Kenya. For them, investments into the hospitality industry in tourism is a sure way of boosting an economy.
With 5-star services, Africans can offer even better. And then for us Africans, even we have that refreshing African hospitality that it just comes out of us. You don't struggle, it just comes out. So I urge for the African continents, the countries in Africa, to invest more, train their people in hospitality so that we can get a big influx of tourists even from the Western.
The Sarova Hotel story just highlights a few businesses that are developing around tourism in Kenya. Undoubtedly, a situation Ghana can learn from. Abigail Adamakwenchi for Joy News. World Bank Group President Damian Kim will visit Ghana on Friday, October 16, to participate in high-level talks, launch a report on poverty in Africa, highlight Ghana's progress toward extending extreme poverty, and commemorate End of Poverty Day. The president's visit to Accra will be part of several activities this week, focusing on ending extreme poverty by 2030.
That trip comes shortly after the release of a World Bank report earlier this month that projects for the first time that the percentage of people living in extreme poverty around the world were falling below 10% in 2015 to 9.6%. The bank estimates that 702 million people still live in extreme poverty today around the world. Several African countries have seen significant successes in reducing extreme poverty, including Ghana, which reduced extreme poverty to 25.2% in 2005-2006 from 47% between 1999 and 1992. But the region as a whole lags behind the rest of the world in progressing towards the goal. Sub-Saharan poverty fell from an estimated 56% in 1990 to a projected 35% in 2015, according to the latest World Bank estimates, which are based on an extreme poverty line of $1.9 a day. Rapid population growth remains a key factor blunting progress in many countries. During the first part of his visit, Dr. Kim will be joined by President John Dramani Mahama and other development partners, as well as civil society leaders, private sector representatives, and student leaders to observe End Poverty Day in Jamestown, Accra, where they will also together launch a regional flagship report, Poverty in a Rising Africa. The report explores whether enough of the continent's citizens are sharing in Africa's rise, analyzes challenges related to poverty data, and provides an update on poverty and other trends related to human well-being. Kim will also participate in a shared prosperity forum in the afternoon at the University of Ghana, Legon, along with government ministers from Africa, civil society and private sector leaders to share thoughts on what it would take to end extreme poverty in Africa and the rest of the world by 2030. Ghana's own path towards prosperity will be among the topics explored.
Trust Joy News to bring you all the updates online, on TV and on radio. Away from that, the days of having to fill out a tall list of forms to have your loan application processed are over, at least for existing and potential customers of financial services company AFB Ghana. This is because the financial company has introduced a loan application system dubbed paperless salary loans that allows its customers to simply use their mobile phones to access collateral-free loans actually, anywhere and anytime.
The loan application system, dubbed Paperless Salary Loan, currently works on MTN, Vodafone, Airtel and Tigo, and customers can access up to 15,000 cedis on their mobile phones. Speaking at the launch, Managing Director of AFB Ghana, Arnold Parker, said the product is not only to make loan application for its customers easier, but also to enhance financial inclusion in the country.
Star 714 star 777 hash should let you start a process of being able to apply for a loan in a matter of minutes. And we've done this because we want to make real our set objectives of branchless banking. We don't want to belabor our customers with having to travel long distances before they get to the nearest branch to apply for a loan.
He indicates that AFB Ghana is a company that is totally devoted to financial inclusion, hence want each and everyone who can afford a financial service to be able to have his or her application completed in not more than 3 to 4 minutes.
It's access to financial services, and we've made sure that once technology is available to give us this kind of access, then we'll ride on the back of that technology to make it happen.
The paperless salary loan application system is accessible across the country.
And that'll be all for business. My name is Abigail Adomako, and she is
Well,
life.
before you go, are you going to be telling me about the power news, the outcome of the negotiations? Or I should tell you what I know?
Yes, please do. Since you've been monitoring closely our energy correspondent.
Indeed, we're not looking at a situation where we're going to be in total darkness as a result. If should Nigeria Gas even go ahead to cut supply to us. So what's going to happen is that we would see a significant drop in the amount of gas that's available, but it will come to about 30 million standard cubic feet of gas. But that 30 million should be available to keep Asokli running. That's 180 megawatts. And so that should be fine. So we're not going to feel the impact of it until probably tomorrow, 6 p.m. thereabout, where it becomes obvious that we can't take on additional load. And so people would have to.
So we just enjoy it for a day and after a day?
Yeah. So the situation, essentially, it only means that whatever, we've been enjoying some reprieve in the last few days or weeks. It looks like it. It could get worse. That's the worst case scenario, where indeed Nigeria Gas decides that they're going to significantly reduce the amount of gas available to us.
Well, too bad, but let's see what happens. I'm hopeful though.
I'm also equally hopeful that the Power Minister will return with something good.
Right, carrying on the news.
All right, thank you very much, Abigail. With the news, we're taking a break. We'll have more news coming up. Please don't go away. Full region are threatening to take the law into their own hands if their deposits are not refunded to them. The customers of the distressed microfinance company say they were promised a refund of their deposits last week, but the institution postponed the date to October 15, only to be told that they should instead try again next week. The frustrated customers spoke to Anas Bit of Gaskia FM.
Thank you for that.
All right, Anas Bit of Gaskia FM in Techima. He's joining us on the phone now to tell us more about it. Now, good evening to you, Anas. Why is DKM postponing the payment of the customers' deposits?
Well, good evening, Israel. Exactly what most clients of DKM have to understand, because the Bank of Ghana, from information getting to us, indicates that the Bank of Ghana has lifted the ban imposed on DKM some 4 months ago. But as we speak now, clients who have been promised to receive their principal payment, I mean some percentage of these principal payments, have been disappointed, because most of them were promised to receive their some percentage of their principal monies last week. Unfortunately, they were told to come back today, which is the 15th day of October. They made it to the office earlier this morning, only to be told to go and then get back by the 23rd of this month, which will be somewhere next weekend. This didn't sound well to the ears of most of these clients, as they believe the microfinance, which is DKM, is not doing enough to ensure that they get their monies back. They've been patient enough for months, but now most of them are threatening to take the loss into their own hands, and that's an issue of worry actually here in the Brown Half region. Just yesterday, business men, market women included in Nkranza, also decided to also embark on a serious demonstration. Nkranza, residents of Nkranza boycotted the just ended assembly elections, and they are also threatening to boycott the upcoming general elections. All has to do with this same issue. Now people are not taking it anymore. The issue, the danger associated with it is people might strike, and that is how come most of them are threatening to take the loss into their own hands. Israel.
Now, Anas, with all these threats of the customers, are there any steps to beef up security at the company?
Well, interestingly, this morning when I was at the office of my DKM, there was no single security in place. We saw some staff of the microfinance around, but there was no single security. And then it might surprise you that even this morning, one lady was attacked by some aggrieved clients. They were told she is a cleaner there, and she was saying people should just take their time. Her comments provoked most of the clients available there, and she was nearly attacked. The people have to intervene to ensure that she was not, attacked physically. But the issue is people can't take it anymore. We now have an association calling itself We Want Our Money Association. It at coming together to speak with clients. Most people, some have committed suicide, others are threatening to attack and even kill staff of these microfinances, and that's what is quite worrying, because if you kill somebody, definitely your money is not going to be back to you, and that's how come they formed this association to talk to clients. Now they have over 2,000, clients or 2,000 members of that particular association. We want our money back. But what is quite worrying is that security agencies have not been doing enough to ensure that they provide the needed security to this microfinance and Israel. By next week, as promised by DKM 23rd, if monies are not paid to these aggrieved clients, I'm afraid they will strike as they promised.
All right, thank you very much, Anas Sabit of Gaskia FM in Techiman. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you international news. It's time now for Joy News Interactive, or Aisha Ibrahim is going to be telling us about what's coming up on Joy News Interactive.
Of course, it's a glorious Royal Thursday, and it's all about the royal wedding. People are so happy.
Having been able to get onto Facebook, but apparently it's all over social media. All over
very beautiful pictures, and it's unique, traditionally unique. I can
imagine the people who showed up. It must be royalty and celebrity, and if you're not there and I wasn't there, it means that I really don't matter.
Oh, but I don't think so. It was beautiful.
I see beautiful pictures, and
people have been wishing them well on social media.
And I wish them well too.
Yes, so do I. We wish them well, and hopefully we'll see Nana Nsakwa back here with his fresh ring. So you can bet we'll tell you all about what you've been saying about this royal wedding. Today also happens to be the Global Hand Washing Day. Did you wash your hand? Do you remember? We'll be telling you all about that. And do you think it is okay to share pictures of children on social media? My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Join me within the hour on the interactive segment on Joy News Prime for more.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime Timeline for a recap of our top stories. Ghanaians have actually been waiting the outcome of negotiations over Nigeria's threat to cut gas supply by midnight tonight. A family in Accra is demanding justice for a 23-year-old house help who was murdered, her body dumped in a swimming pool. Police are investigating the murder of a baby whose body was discovered on Thursday near the Achimota school in Accra. Former President Kufuor has endorsed demands for a new voters register, insisting that the Electoral Commission cannot be a power unto itself and that it should listen to the voice of the people. And we're going to be telling you about the regal wedding a lot later in the bulletin. Right now on to the rest of our stories. And the Ghana Police Service has promised to ensure improved security for the general elections next year. Special police units have started intensive training and will be deployed in due course. The Inspector General of Police Mohammed Al-Hassan spoke to Adom TV reporter Prince Owusu in Accra.
Well, we started preparation months ago by putting together our training programs, by putting together the needed logistics, and then also strategizing as to with respect to deployments. So let me assure you that we started our preparation months ago.
The National Executive of the governing NDC has cut short the dreams of 11 parliamentary aspirants, which has disqualified them from contesting in the party's upcoming primaries. Vetting processes for 5 constituencies have also been put on hold. General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Esiedunketia, explains these decisions.
In all, after visiting the 10 regions, the vetting committees, the 4 vetting committees, returned 23 cases for determination at the national headquarters. After reviewing the reports, the National Executive Committee held as follows. We found 5 of those candidates qualified to contest the primaries. And then we found 10 other candidates disqualified for the contest. And there was one case, an individual whose vetting still remains inconclusive. We are looking for some further information to enable us to take the appropriate decision. In the case of 4 constituencies, NEC has decided to still suspend the vetting until further notice. These constituencies are Nkwanta South in Volta region, Subin in Ashanti region, Tema West in Greater Accra, and Chanapaga in Upper East regions. So until further notice, the vetting processes for these 4 constituencies still remains on hold.
The township of Bunkrugu in the northern region was thrown under the spotlight earlier this year after chieftaincy clashes resulted in the death of 4 people. As the town recovers from conflict, residents want their leaders to focus their energies on development. Here's a report by Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin.
They say is a spice of life. In Bunkrugu, however, that is not the case when it comes to sports. Apart from football, there is no other sports the youth can engage in during their leisure time. The administrative headquarters of Bunkrugu Yoyo district is located 215 kilometers from Tamale, the capital of the northern region. The main economic activity is farming, with cultivation of a variety of crops. When young men are not in school or taking care of livestock, chances are they are playing football. Most of the players at the local football club, New Era, always wear jerseys of European teams. To be fair to them, this is the case across the country, as football lovers have embraced European football at the expense of the National League. The sandy turf in Bunkrugu is the only venue for training, but access is not always guaranteed.
They didn't make very good passes, and I think there are also stones around somewhere on the pitch. So sometimes somebody falls on it, and then there's a lot of maybe brushes, which is very bad for us. And if you look at our goalposts, there are no nails.
Coach Emmanuel formed the team 15 years ago. New Era depicts a new generation of Bunkrugu, a proverbial change that keeps residents going despite the numerous challenges.
Contribute small to get balls. As you can see, even we have no JC for training. No balls and all that.
The youths are eager to share the level of violence. They gladly display a prouder history, typified by the stone map of Africa discovered years ago.
Really, we cannot trace the history, but what is known about this stone is dating back to the 15th century. That is all that we can know about Israel, but specifically those who did it, we only understand some Arabs came around here, and they had come from South Africa, around South Africa. On their conquest, they came here and then they carved this stone into the map of Africa. That is all that we know about this map. This is Madagascar. It's carved as Madagascar of Africa. This part of the stone is South Africa. And you can see the Horn of Africa here. where you find Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, and the rest. Kenya is around here, Sudan is around here. And this part of Africa, that is the North Africa. Around here, you can find Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and the rest. Here, you find West Africa, where you can find Ghana around here. And this is Central Africa. This is the desert area, Niger, Nigeria around here, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and the rest. Also, you can be found here. So that is all about this stone that we can really tell now.
People of Bunkrugu are peace-loving, but recent events give a bad picture of the town.
In fact, we are disappointed because ever since this situation happened in the community, it has affected everybody, not even to talk of the curfew that has been imposed on the community. People were stopped from farming. You know, we depend on this compound farming. We farm behind our houses and in front of our houses.
In Moal, our father said us, Nangur to Piero Yulpa, Kajilalemba Afriba. We have some small what ant-hills. They say that they used to sweep on their head before to see what will now walk on it. You see? So I am pleading in Bunkurugu jurisdiction, me and my people, we should try our best and have patience with one another so that our leaders will turn their eyes on us and give us good living. Good.
Right, we're returning to our top story on the possibility that Ghana or Nigeria may be reducing the gas supply it makes available to us in the next few hours. We're joined on the phone line now by Harriet Rekubrobe. She is with the West African Gas Pipeline Company to give us an update on the meeting that's taking place in Abuja, Nigeria. Good evening to you, Mrs. Rekubrobe.
Hello, good evening.
All right, what can you tell us about the meeting that's taking place in Abuja right now?
Well, not so much. All we can say is that there are indications that the meeting that is going on is bearing some fruit. We hope that we'll be able to get some good news very soon.
But what timeline are we looking at? Because this good news has to come to you, I believe, in the next few hours. Otherwise...
I know. So I am still waiting. The time is not up yet.
Okay, so just to confirm for us, we have how many hours to go? Just about 4 hours, I believe.
Oh, let me see. Is it 4 hours? What's the time now?
It's 8 o'clock.
Yes. So
we have just about 4.
A lot can happen in just 1 hour. So let's still keep our fingers crossed.
All right. If nothing happens within these 4 hours, are you going to go ahead to turn off the gas supply?
Well, yes. If nothing happens, we would curtail. But we are very hopeful that we will receive some good news.
When are you expecting to hear anything from when are you expecting the next update from Nigeria?
Oh, it can be any time. It can be any time.
So we can be hopeful?
Let's be hopeful.
All right, thank you very much. Harriet Rekubrobe is with the West African Gas Pipeline Company, and the update we're getting is that the talks there in Nigeria, Abuja, have been progressing satisfactory, so we can be hopeful. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you entertainment, and Miss G is here. Good evening to you, Miss G.
Good evening, Easy. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How come you didn't end up at the royal wedding?
Because I had to be here. If I had gone there, it means that I won't be here.
So who's there?
So Gladys is there.
Gladys is there?
Yes, Gladys already went there.
Okay.
And she's on the phone line, and we can speak to her.
All right, let's hear.
The much talk about
That's
royal
what everybody
wedding,
else wants to hear about.
And so, Gladys, hello.
Hi, Ms. G.
Yes, it's good to have you on TV. Tell us more about this royal wedding. I know that it came off somewhere around Ebri.
And
yes,
you happy?
It was on the hill.
Hold on.
It was such a beautiful.
Gladys,
okay, Easy.
Gladys,
yes, Easy.
You were amongst the privileged few to be at the wedding, so please describe it to us.
Okay, it was a blend of tradition, cultural, and class. the couple were dressed in kente throughout. It was kind of the royals were well represented. We had the Akwamusie Hene also coming with his entourage. We had politicians, we had celebrities, musicians, actors. I mean, it was a star-studded wedding where there were no exchanges. I'm told they had that traditional marriage ceremony here today. And so this was more like we showing, Nana came to receive his wife at this event. Nana, this is your wife. Eventually she's yours. So that was the handing over event that we were all there to witness. And we had musicians doing live performances to usher her in. Becca did her Mayor Bar to usher her in. And then the two later danced to Becca's new track, Shenyo Diame, and it was a beautiful sight. But aside that, I mean, the display of Ghanaian culture was at its peak at this event, and I definitely want to believe this is the very first royal marriage Ghana has had. And I'm sure from tomorrow it will be the talk of town. Everybody will talk about it. The few who were there will definitely talk about it because we all felt privileged to be there.
All right, Abigail, sorry.
Gladys.
Gladys. Gladys, I can imagine that this is not going to be the only event that's going to happen as far as this marriage is concerned.
I don't think so. I would want to believe after this ceremony, Sunday is yet to come for the main Thanksgiving, and of course there'll be a few dinners here and there, and definitely I'm sure there still will be the few who will be invited to depart. They really have done well by restricting the crowd, because this morning we had a lot of calls at the front desk asking where the ceremony was taking place at. And, everybody who was there happened to get there because you were given a particular call at a particular time. Some even got their invite this morning. And so they only knew that it was happening at the call a particular number, would direct you to the venue. So it was strictly out from the public's, access. And I think it made itself too. It also added a touch to it because then the quality of people who were there could enjoy the ceremony and there were no gate crashes. But I must say it was beautifully organized and well executed.
All right, thank you very much, Gladys Osei, bringing us all the details on the royal wedding.
Yeah.
The talk of town, actually.
Exactly. Every website you go today has pictures, videos, and all that you want to know about this royal wedding. I'm still waiting to hear about this undisclosed location. All of them don't seem to be talking about. They only talk about the fact that it's somewhere in Ebri. But where exactly in Ebri? I'm sure we'll get details of all that tomorrow.
I am beginning to have a fair idea.
What is that?
It's a private place. It's not like a hotel or anything.
Okay.
From the pictures I'm looking, I'm beginning to have some idea.
I was thinking it was the Ebri Gardens, but I was told it isn't the Ebri Gardens.
No.
You seem to know Ebri very well, huh?
It's not. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're talking about the royal wedding. Is not the only thing happening.
Sure, it's not the only thing happening. John DeMello yesterday unveiled his mobile app, and we've tried to find out from him. He had a J Mello clothing, and we're wondering why not stick to the fashion line that you're used to or we know you for. Why are you doing too many things? Because I know that you are an ambassador for certain groups. Why are you doing too many things as a showbiz person? He says that it's because I know the business aspect of show business.
Wedding, apparently there's something also about romance that has been shattered.
Yes, Shattered Romance is a Juliet Ibrahim movie.
Oh, it's a movie.
Of course, it's a movie, and it premiered here in Accra some months ago. But Juliet took it all the way to Nigeria because she featured some Nigerian actors, and then she took it to Nigeria to premiere it. They happened yesterday in Nigeria at the Silverbird Cinemas in Nigeria, and we decided to take the attendants or people who were there to watch this movie because it's out from her comfort zone. It's all the way in Nigeria, and you could see some Nigerians,
So they were there to show solidarity.
Yeah, to show solidarity, and it's amazing because I didn't see any Ghanaian apart from her sister who she went with, and also James Gardner who went with her as well. All the other people you see in these pictures, or in the pictures you're seeing, are Nigerians. And another thing about Juliet Ibrahim is that before the premiere, she had the chance to visit a Nigerian television station. You know the Shoki dance you and I have been talking about all the while here, and you tell us James Gardner, I like the fact that he's showing him, you know, once he's teaching him what's Nigerian, he's also saying, this is Ghanaian, I throw it back to you. Learn mine and let me learn yours, you know, that kind of thing. And you need to learn Shoki because very soon we'll be having a Shoki dance here.
No, if you say we're going to be dancing Shoki at the royal wedding, yeah. I'll learn how to dance that.
All right, so finally you're going to learn how to dance Shoki. Finally, it's not a female dance, okay? So that's it. All
right, thank you very much, Ms. G, for bringing us the entertainment news. Next up, we have sports news with Kwame Jumajaman. Please stay tuned.
Entertainment news.
Right, Kwame Jumajaman is here with sports. Good evening to you, Kwame.
Good evening, Easy.
Right, what's coming up in sports?
Well, some news coming from your club, Accra Hearts of Oak.
Yes.
You're looking at getting a new manager for your team next season again. Already you're looking in the direction of, I don't know if you can afford that at the moment.
Why can't we afford?
Well, he's on £7.5 million a year. Hello.
Okay. All right.
We'll see, and we'll be looking forward to the days where the local clubs will be able to, afford a manager of the caliber of Jose Mourinho. But Accra Hearts of Oak are in the news planning for next season. We understand that the Hearts of Oak have made an official approach for Mediama manager Tom Strand. Now, recall that Tom Strand led Mediama Sporting Club to the FA Cup only a few weeks ago, and the Accra Hearts of Oak are said to be busily courting the 34-year-old manager to steer the affairs of the club for next season. And away from Accra Hearts of Oak, we go to the camp of the eternal rivals Kumasi Asante Kotoko, who are also on the market getting their team in shape for season 2015, season 2016. And we understand that former goalie of Chelsea, who also played for Don Bosco in the DR Congo, is also signed in by the club. Kotoko do have quite a number of goalkeepers in their ranks, and it will be interesting to see which of these players stay and which of these players make the transition to another club for the new season. Let's do some news on powerlifting now, and powerlifter Charles Nah is looking at the opportunity of competing for Ghana at the Rio 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, and he's been calling for support ahead of the Olympics.
We travel, all the medals I've won, and when I travel in the name of the country. I've never traveled at myself, Charles Nate, but I travel in the name of Ghana. And all my competitions, if you could play back, you could see that I'm in the national colors. So I do it for Ghana. So Ghana has to provide us with all this equipment to enable us to do it. But then, as we all know, it's difficult when it comes to lesser known sports, especially in this country. So as we love the sports and we want to do it, we find our own way of doing it. And we're hoping that one day something good will come out. Even if not the government, we will use our international exposure to be able to get, even if it's a used one, back home so that everybody can do it, and then we can have a lot of powerlifting in the country. Because at the moment, I'm the only seasonal powerlifter, and if I should resign any moment from now, I don't think we're going to have any powerlifting.
And he will be looking at competing in the Paralympics at Rio de Janeiro next year. To the offices of FIFA in Switzerland, and we understand that CAF President Isaiah Yatu has arrived in the Swiss city to assume the role of caretaker of football's organising body.
And in a statement, he said, it's certainly an unprecedented situation for FIFA, but we remain focused on the necessary reform process, the presidential election, and on supporting the current investigations. To restore public trust is a crucial objective.
Now, quite a number of individuals have put forward their names to be president of FIFA on February the 27th next year, and one of these individuals is Michel Platini, who has been embroiled in controversy over a £1.3 million payment that was made to him by FIFA President Joseph Sepp Blatter in 2011. The UEFA General Secretary Gianni Infantino says they are backing their man for the election next year.